What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome back to Warriors Latest. As always, I am your host, Max Arizin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you enjoy the show today, as I do post new Warriors videos daily. Now, I'm going through Twitter or X, whatever you like to call it, and I'm just checking NBA Twitter, seeing a bunch of stuff. Russell Westbrook got signed, different guys got released. There was a story earlier about a guy from the Bucks getting released because of Giannis's two brothers that were signed to the team to appease him. But the biggest thing that I saw in NBA Twitter today was the NBA valuations for all 30 teams that were just released. And based off of last year's valuations, I thought, you know what, the Lakers should take the top spot. They were just sold. I believe it was $4 million over the last valuation. I think they were around. I think it was 6.5 billion or maybe 7 billion, somewhere in that general. Or no, excuse me, 2 million more than what they were valued, because they were valued at 8 and as the most valuable franchise last year. But I thought at 10 billion they would be the most valuable franchise. They were a top seed last year, being the 3 seed, even though they didn't have. They didn't really do well against the Timberwolves. They have LeBron James, arguably the biggest star of the last 25 years, whose name isn't Kobe Bryant. And they have the next budding star in Luka Doncic. So that sale was worth it. I didn't think any team would go higher than that. However, I was dead wrong, because the Warriors were listed as the most valuable franchise in the NBA. And I'm looking at it now at $11.33 billion for this team. 11.33. And just thinking about that, that is that is like a decent fraction of Steve Ballmer's overall net worth. But it's so shocking, because this team they were a play-in team last year. And I get it, they have Steph Curry. He's arguably the most valuable asset the NBA has right now, because watching these preseason games, he's still got that magic, the same magic that Jordan had anytime you watched him. What he does is still, you don't know how he does it. I remember just Sunday's game against the Blazers, against the Lakers. I'm watching it, and and he's just, those quick shots that he's just quickly putting up on a quick 1-2, and they're going in like there's a magnet in the ball going to the basket. And yes, Steph is that guy, and he's going to have a renaissance after what I saw for the next 2 years, and really, really push the envelope, maybe even play until he's 40. But I got to wonder, where are these valuations coming from? Because something this high isn't worth this money. Where's the money coming from? Where does the money being generated by the Warriors coming from? Because I know they're not generating a profit that I believe justifies an $11.33 billion price tag. I look at the Celtics, and they were just sold from the Wick family, and they are currently valued at $6.35 billion. I think that's pretty close to what they were sold for a couple months ago. But if you think about it and you know your stuff, the Celtics were operating at a $88 million loss, and that's the main reason they wanted to sell the team after they won the title, because they were going to get the most bang for their buck. On top of that, another team that was recently sold, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who beat the Warriors and the Lakers last year in the playoffs and made it to the conference finals, are currently valued at $4.24 billion. Now, A-Rod, that is around the amount of money that I want to say A-Rod and Mark Lore paid for the team. I believe they got the first 40% for a little bit less, but it is a nice price tag. But the thing is, and this is what I don't get, they were operating at a $100 million loss last season. Like, they lost a lot of money, and it's just, why is a team that's losing money so valuable? And it just makes me think. All right, we look at Tom Dundon and his purchase of the Blazers, and let's see, where are they at? They are, yeah, even the Blazers. Tom Dundon bought them for $4 billion. He just got $250 million up on the valuation. Nothing's changed. They're still a bad team, and yet the valuations keep going up. Maybe it's me. I don't know. Something's not making sense with this math. I look at the Warriors. Yes, they are a great team. Yes, I understand they do have ownership of the Chase Center, which is a big plus because not a lot of teams do. The Lakers have the Staples Center. Knicks own the Garden. The Brooklyn Nets, who came in at $6.22 billion, they own the Barclays Center. So there is value in the stadium. But those other teams that don't own the stadium, where's the money coming from? Where's the value in this team? They're not generating a return that's high enough to justify the price tag. Maybe it really is a billionaire's plaything, and they're willing to lose money on that. In that case, for those worst teams like the Grizzlies, they're worth exactly $4 billion. Here's another one. The Pelicans are worth $4.02 billion. And they are a dumpster fire of a franchise. And we're the Wizards. Now, we know they're the worst franchise. So it's like, look, oh my God. Even look at this. $4.21 billion for the Orlando Magic. They're going to be a top seed for many years to come, yet they're one of the lowest valued franchises out there. Something's not making sense. So if you guys could educate me on this and help me understand why these franchises keep going up, because I get the feeling it's a bubble. Because once Steph retires, once Jimmy's gone, once Draymond's gone, and there's a full rebuild, down goes the value, because they don't have the marquee product of Steph Curry anymore. They don't have that team that really attracts a lot of players. But that's just my 2 cents on this whole valuation thing. I think if Joe Lacob and Peter Gruber want to get the most bang for their buck, after these 2 years, they should sell out. I get Joe Lacob is a very passionate owner. He loves the franchise. He loves being a part of the franchise. He loves it overall, and it's going to be a family thing. Both his sons Kent and Kirk are working for the franchise. I believe Kirk is in line to replace him as the governor, while Kent is eventually in line to replace Mike Dunleavy as the general manager and president, because I believe he's still the general manager of the Santa Cruz Warriors. But I believe both of them should sell out, and they could possibly, at the end of the window, they could possibly get up to $15 to $18 billion for this franchise, including for the Chase Center. And to be honest, at a certain point, you got to say, all right, that's a price tag worth getting. I'll take it. It's all yours. And especially when you're coming in as a new owner, having a complete rebuild is something a new owner would like. But that's just my 2 cents. It's wild. Feel free to comment below on why is this happening? It's just economically, I'm not really understanding it. It just doesn't make sense. To me, it looks like a financial bubble, and eventually that bubble's going to burst. But in other news, as things happen with the Warriors, I saw that Jonathan Kuminga got fined $35,000 for just making inappropriate contact with an official, which pretty much means just rushing on them or anything like that. And that's understandable. Coach Kerr came out and said, you know what? I love that he's playing with that fiery passion. I don't mind the ejection. But going into the season, it makes me wonder, could this be a problem? He has that fiery passion. Maybe he gets that from Draymond. But could this lead to eventual suspensions where he's getting technicals, ejections, and then it makes him less attractive to other teams because, you know what, maybe there's an attitude issue because he likes to go over the top to really prove himself. Because I'm not too certain he's going to be in the starting lineup coming out of the gate. And if you got a $23 million bench player, like that's starter money. You don't give starter money to a bench player. And I think that adds more credence to the idea that they could trade him to Miami in exchange for Bam Adebayo. So I see that happening, but he's got to be the ultimate sixth man to become like that starter that he wants to be on another team. I'm not certain that Kerr's going to find that role, but if he embraces that six-man role and just like a firecracker off the bench, leader of that second unit, I think he's going to be very successful for the first part of the season leading into January 15th when he is eligible to be traded. And I think that's going to, if he maintains that firecracker attitude off the bench, I do think it's going to go well. However, he can't go overboard with it. We can't afford to lose him to stupid ejections the way we did early on with Draymond. Let us not forget that stupid ejection in 2016 in Game 5 where he just couldn't control his temper and just swiped at LeBron caused him to get suspended for the next game, which really changed the momentum of the entire series. And next thing you know, we gave up a 3-1 lead to lose in 7. Now, mind you, I know it kind of was the suspension was kind of a result of LeBron complaining, but still, it's the finals. You have to keep your cool. But in terms of him being traded, I see him going to the Heat more than anywhere else because after what I heard today regarding Giannis, I don't think Giannis is going to be traded. As I said before, the Bucks waived a guaranteed player in order to get both of his brothers, and the way that he's been playing next to Miles Turner, I think the Bucks are going to be very good this season, and Giannis ends up staying long term. Then again, when Anthony Slater was talking about trades this time last season, he also poured cold water on the idea of Jimmy Butler coming to the Warriors because of how bad things were with the Heat. But I will say he was wrong, not because the Warriors wanted Jimmy Butler to come to the Warriors, but because Kevin Durant said no to a potential Warriors trade. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. And there is no real scenario where contracts will match up to bring Giannis to the Bay Area. And in all fairness, as much as I like him, I'm okay not having him. With those predictions being out, and I saw the Warriors making it all the way to the finals, I still see that happening. Yes, they do have to make adjustments here and there. They do need more size in order to compete with some of the bigger guys, like, as I said, Joker, Anthony Davis, and Daniel Gafford. All of the guys on the Rockets and their length, which is right now Steven Adams, Clint Capella, and Alperen Sengun. So they do need to get bigger because Quentin Post, he's really picking it up on the offensive end, but not so much on the defensive end yet, because after that Donovan Clingan dunk on him, that it was a posterizing dunk, I still have those concerns. He still has to bulk up. He still has to get big. I would say he's in playing shape, but he still has to put on weight and be in playing shape because we need him to be physical with those guys down low, even though he can stretch the floor. But the bottom line is all the valuations, the Kuminga deal, and the Kuminga ejection, along with the Giannis trade, that's way down the road. And with the franchise valuation, maybe they sell. But bottom line is, it's time for the Warriors. They need to focus on the Clippers. That's tonight's game. They need to win this game to keep the momentum going into the opening night game against the Lakers, so they could start off, they start off with a 5-6 game winning streak, and once that momentum keeps going, it's hard to stop. Let us not forget, when the Warriors started the 2016 season, when they went 73-9, they had a huge winning streak. The exact number right now forgets me because I'm just putting it out there. But if it was 20-plus games before they lost, and that was with Luke Walton at the helm. And I don't know where Luke is right now in his coaching career, but that in and of itself is impressive, and it goes to show how important momentum is to Warrior success. So focus on the Clippers, get the job done against their bigs for Quentin Post, and find ways to really learn how to win against these deeper teams that have guys that can both dominate you down low, stretch the floor, and get that three-point shot up and in, as well as get to the line as often as James Harden does. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, if you enjoyed the show today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you have any trade ideas for Jonathan Kuminga outside of the ones I've mentioned, feel free to comment below as I love hearing your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.